Hello, everybody. I would like to welcome you all to EarthShift Global's current webinar, the second part in our trilogy with Élodie Roy, who is with us from Ottawa, and we're very excited to have her. And without further ado, I will open things up to Élodie, and as always, if you would send your questions to me, Holly Harris, I will forward them to Élodie at the end and ask her on your behalf. So I will stop my share, and Élodie, you can jump on.
All right. Thank you so much, Holly, for the introduction. I'm going to start sharing my screen then with you all so you can see the presentation. Give me a few minutes here. All right, so that should be all set. I think we're starting very on time. Should we wait a few minutes or should I start already?
I think you go right ahead as we are recording, and they can catch up later, and we start promptly at 1 now.
All right, perfect. That sounds good. I'll stop my video for now. I might bring it back again later when we have the Q&A, just so right now you can focus on the presentation. So thank you all really for joining us today to go over some of the results achieved through a project I feel really so lucky to be a part of, which is called La Red de Innovación en Impacto. Literally, it's the Innovation and Impact Network in English. You will hear me throughout this presentation refer to this project as La Red, which is the Spanish term for the network. Thank you, EarthShift Global, for giving me this opportunity to speak about this project that is funded by the Department of State in the United States and implemented by the World Environment Center in Washington, D.C., Rio Film Studio, which is also based in Washington, D.C., and Bastel, which are Canadian monitoring and evaluation firms. So I'm talking to you right now from Gatineau, near Ottawa. Trying to change. Okay. Let me start first by asking you a question. Did you know that up to 95% of companies in Central America are micro, small, and medium enterprises? Those MSMEs generate approximately 54% of all the jobs, and they make up for 34% of the total regional production in Central America. These numbers are specifically for Central America, but if we expand our focus and look beyond this small region, it's actually 75% of all jobs in Latin America that MSMEs create, which is still a big amount. So really, micro, small, and medium enterprises are an important development engine for the region. But many of those small businesses, they need better connection to market, information, and supportive policies in order to become or remain competitive on a global market. They need support and incentives to access new markets, to adopt sustainable business practice, and strengthen workers' rights if we really want to turn them into an effective driver of change and shape a sustainable future, like I'm sure many of us here want. That's where our project, La Red de Innovación Impacto, comes in. La Red is a network of 30 organizations that were identified through the U.S. Department of State Pathways to Prosperity and the Americas Innovation Challenge. So these 30 organizations, they come from 11 different countries spanning the America, and they have developed promising and innovative solutions to catalyze sustainable economic growth across the region by supporting and servicing micro, small, and medium enterprises, which is really our focus group. The network, La Red, is designed to empower these organizations to scale and replicate their solution and expand their reach and impact, thus contributing to sustainable economic growth. in the region. So how do we do that? Well, very simply by offering support on the four main aspects that you see on the screen: collaboration, knowledge, funding, and visibility. Our approach is premised on the belief that no single policy, government, department, organization, or program on its own can tackle or solve the increasingly complex economic, environmental, and social problems we face as societies. So the approach really called for multiple organizations or entities to come together and develop joint approach to solving problems and implement agreed upon action. In very simple terms, La Red is a collaborative, sustainable business network that aims to augment the breadth and impact of these solutions that are part of it by leveraging the support of stakeholders that will help to grow and fund them. Really, collaboration is at the center of it all. We help the member of our network to find mission-aligned organizations that can join forces together. Then, we also offer them capacity building and advisement on a variety of subjects, such as marketing, results-based management, project management, scaling their solution, and even exporting. This is all with the aim of providing new insight and knowledge to their members to improve the way they do what they do and have a better chance of success in implementing their solution. Obviously, funding is also very important. Being an MSME often means you have to deal with very limited resources, therefore scaling or expanding can put a real strain on existing resources available. In addition to giving out small grants, the network has organized a couple of events for our members to meet with potential investors, bring value, contact, and additional money to them. These events and the press release the network does also provide visibility and recognition to our members, which again has the potential to put them in contact with investors or mentors that could help them, and it just overall puts them on the radar also for the good thing that they do. So now I'm going to go and look a little bit more into all the different areas I mentioned, the four big areas, and see what results we have achieved, because this program started in 2014. It was supposed to finish in September 2017, but we got an extension, so we're going until January 2020. So let's look back at what has been achieved from 2014 to now. As I mentioned, we really believe that to achieve our goal through this project, a lot had to do with helping our members find the right connection. So we organized 5 in-person events. These events were really opportunities for members to meet face-to-face and then to help them know each other and create deeper relationships, which also allowed them to meet with external stakeholders, which could become partners, mentors, or funders. As a result of these events and the creation of the network, we have seen 12 members sign a collaboration agreement with another member of the network, leading to 6 established partnerships. Often these partnerships were entered with a like-minded organization based in another country. This proved very interesting to fulfill our promise to help members scale to a new context or location, as they could benefit from the contact, experience, and knowledge of another country through partnering with another member of the network. So already, at least 8 member organizations are scaling their solution to another location, mostly thanks to the support provided by La Red. But not only were there connection between the 30 member organization of the network, there were also partnerships with organizations that were not part of La Red, but that had the potential to support outside of our network. For example, during in-person events, we invited organizations such as Connect America, which is a social network for businesses that help SMEs train their business by providing them access to communities of clients, suppliers, and investors. So that's just one example of a great connection that was made possible between a member and an external stakeholder through some of the events and the collaboration we try to foster through the network. Here we see also one of the great results we've seen. It's 2 organizations, Incubatech Ufro, which have developed very innovative and performant incubation program based out of their University of Universidad La Frontera in Chile, and another organization, member of the network of La Red in Colombia, La Cámara de Comercio de Bucaramanga. They've been wanting in Colombia through this organization to start an incubation program in their organization, but didn't have necessarily all the skills, expertise, experience to do so. So they entered a partnership with Incubatec UFO, which was also looking to expand their model out of Chile. So it was really a win-win situation. And together they have designed and implemented two acceleration programs for business incubation, providing mostly business development services to women entrepreneurs, one in Colombia, but they were also able, because it worked well, they worked well together, to also go in a third country, which was Dominican Republic. And this was all really connection developed between members during La Red in-person activities. This is just one of the many examples we've seen. Then I mentioned a second area, knowledge and capacity. When the network was formed, all 30-member organizations wanted the same thing: scale their solution to another country, location, or context. So we thought, how can we help them to get there? And we did by providing support to improve their solution could actually help. We leveraged first the strength of the implementing partners. For example, WEC has a lot of experience in international project management. Then Bastel in results-based management, monitoring, and evaluation. So together we decide to train the members of our network and provide them with cutting-edge technical expertise and customized one-on-one coaching. We also invited subject matter experts to come support La Red members in strengthening their approach. It could have been through marketing or export, but most importantly, we asked the members of the network to share their own strength and experience with one another. And this resulted in the creation of a flat community of practice that provided members a space to exchange their ideas and experience. Many of those community of practice were led by a member of the network, which helped build ownership of the network and foster great connection between members. Through all these activities, so from inception in 2014, as I mentioned, to the end of the first phase of the project in about September 2017, we've trained more than 63%. So through courses or in-person workshop or webinars offered by experts. So this means that more often than not, more than one member or more person per organization participated in the training events, which widened the reach of those capacity building workshops. All the trainings provided represent more than 120 hours of direct workshop and webinars provided to directly build the capacity of the organization, part of our network. Yeah, we thought we could do more. And in February 2017, after reviewing bids from several accelerators, the team decided, with the approval of State Department, to provide the members the option of working with one of 3 accelerators that are really known in the region. One of them was Agora Partnerships, the second one was New Ventures, and a third one was Nest. Those accelerator programs each had their own activities and objectives, but they work to strengthen La Red members' business management capacity and provide guidance on further scaling of their initiative, including inviting stakeholders to support and fund them based on their needs and preferences. So again, always we're going to come back to this. Funding opportunity was very important. As important as building a network and developing talent and leader was, we knew that financial support was also going to be needed. So there were different moments in the network where grants were provided. At first, selected 4 organizations through an innovation challenge to support them in developing their solution and expanding through replication in a new country. The 4 that we selected back in 2015 actually did scale their solution, all of them, into a new country. They each received up to $500,000 US to do that, and this funding served to test their idea in a new context and provided an opportunity to learn about what works and what doesn't, and bring in new ideas for solving problems with greater potential for sustainable scale. So through this experience, they were really able to put their model to test and gather evidence of their results and impact. One of these 4 organizations, Lutheran World Relief, leveraged and secured additional funding from another donor, which was looking to support an already existing project. So with this additional grant, it actually more than doubled the funds available to them and served to complement their existing project, allowing the organization to offer more assistance to beneficiaries and reach even some new beneficiaries. In 2016, the network awarded 8 members up to $80,000 to also support their scaling process or extend the reach of their solution. Also, as I mentioned, the accelerator program that the La Red entered into also helped to bring value, contact, and investors to the members. That's related to funding. Now, the last aspect, one of the 4 components was visibility. For our members, our project, it was important for many reasons. One obvious one was for marketing and fostering promotional opportunity to help reach our goal to help members scale. So try to find people who could support, were interested in supporting those organizations and their process. So we did by reaching out to wider society through interactions with media, trade, and business association, also government. It was also a means to inspire dialogue, action, and public policy changes beyond what the network and the projects were doing. If we were able to influence beyond, then we thought we could potentially create a needed systematic change that could further support our members and the MSMEs achieve their goals. So we work hard to find local, national, and regional opportunities to share the network's goals, success, and lessons. After each event, we try to get new people interested and involved, new stakeholders, and after that we decided to create a newsletter that go out to over 60 stakeholder organizations for ongoing communication, outreach after events organized, and also just to inform about what our members are doing more generally. We also have a social media presence. There's always some sort of traffic on La Red website. Many users are from the US, but many include also those from obviously the South America, Central America, and also some come from Europe. Last time I checked, there were close to 500 persons and organizations following La Red de Innovación Impacto Facebook page. So all those social media are being updated continuously with news from our network and stories that highlight the latest success of the members. Don't hesitate and go and have a little check at that. It's always very interesting to see those brilliant and innovative ideas that are being implemented. Our members also have, and they also post articles or videos in the news. We also have an annual report that was, 2 annual reports actually that were published, and you can go and access that for more information on the website, laredeinnovaciondeimpacto.com. And right now we also have, as part of the second phase, a new challenge to have a new incoming class coming in. So the website is also there, powertogrow.weg.org. So now we can talk. I've explained a little bit. I hope it's clearer for you what this project is about and the 4 key components in which we offer support. Now we can look a little bit at, so what? Why did we do all that and what were the results of this? Well, because of all of this, we're happy to have seen that through the solutions and innovation put forth by member organizations of La Red, more than 2,000 MSMEs have been supported, whether it be through improved market access, income generation, technological innovation, knowledge, increased competitiveness. Well, at least 1,600 MSMEs have also received technical assistance to export, so to expand their market and increase their sales by reaching more and new audiences for their products or services. It's important to know that these numbers, it's considering only those 12 members that I mentioned that received grants from the State Department through this project. So the 4 that got $500,000 and the 8 that got up to $80,000 that I mentioned earlier. So the number of MSMEs reach is probably way higher if we take it into account all the MSMEs being supported by the 30 members of La Red. But we decided to report here only on those MSMEs that receive support directly because of the grant that State Department has given through La Red. This is, on this image, what 2,230 MSMEs look like. Each icon in this image represents an MSME that receives state support through one of the projects funded by La Red in different countries. And here we see like appearing different logo in different countries of MSMEs that received support. After only the first year, about 100 MSMEs had directly benefited. These are the icons that you see in purple shadow. A year later, in 2016, this number actually increased to include more than 2,000 MSMEs. So as the projects funded through La Red started their implementation and connection between members started to translate from intention to action, this is what we have been able to achieve in just 1 year, 2,000 MSMEs more. So that really shows the ripple effect and the scaling process La Red has allowed. So if we look in more detail what type of assistance the project funded by La Red provided, well, many projects work toward, I'm not going to be able to go through all of them because there are many, but I selected a few that are good examples. So many projects work towards enhancing working conditions, especially for women, youth, and vulnerable population. If we consider only those projects of La Red, again, that receive a grant, it is slightly more than 1,600 individuals, of which 40% are women, that can be considered as having gained better employment. Each one of these individuals now shows up to work every day in a more decent workplace and under improved conditions because of the Department of State and La Red support that help make those changes possible. We have on the screen 3 good examples of this type of assistance. So the larger image is of Wakami, a brand of fashion accessories handmade by women artisans from rural communities and exported internationally. Wakami program provides business incubation and managerial and technical training and access to an export value chain for women entrepreneurs, for example, in rural Guatemala, contributing to turning them into entrepreneurs with a salary and able to provide jobs to other members in their community. The CIMAPRO solution on the top right brings job enhancement and builds the capacity of employees and other stakeholders with the intention of improving working environment and enhancing working conditions. They work to help safety of work environment, empowerment through training, career retention, promoting female labor force participation. These are just a few objectives that this project that receives the network support helped achieve. And at the bottom, we have an image from Las Páginas Verdes EcoFest in Mexico in 2016. Las Páginas Verdes has been working to increase sales of micro, small, and medium enterprises that offer green products and services, supporting them in their marketing and sales. This helps MSMEs owners turn their dream into reality and, most importantly, into a viable business. We have other projects in the network that help reduce greenhouse gas emissions, waste, energy consumption, water use. They offer products or services that help business change the way they operate so they can be more sustainable while still staying competitive or actually becoming even more competitive. Through the grants the Department of State provided to La Red, funding was given to projects devoted to sustaining and preserving ecosystems. And since those were implemented by organization and innovator from Latin America for people in Latin America, they're especially integrated and culturally relevant. I have a few examples of those. And if we look at the macro and the big numbers, and looking at those projects of LARED that receive grants from state department, it's actually 89 beneficiary MSMEs that now use technologies or practice that better respond to environmental standards, and more than 1,200 farmers that are now applying new technology or management practice to improve their crops. Starting from left, we have LWR, who use mobile technology to improve farmers' lives. They have helped nearly 1,000 farmers improve their production, internal control, and traceability systems, and help them access new markets and connect them with value chain actors. In the middle, AquaCare, which developed an innovative system that treats wastewater from industry, agriculture, hotels, or homes using worms and microorganisms. Their method reduced the cost of treatment by up to 70% and reduced the consumption of energy by up to 80% when compared to traditional technology usually used to treat wastewater. In addition to generating clean water for irrigation, this AquaCare treatment also produces biofertilizers for use in gardens. It's a good way to generate revenue from what would have been considered otherwise waste. So this, again, a good example of project that LARED supported that worked toward expanding cleaner production practice and showing, demonstrating the value of doing that it's not only a cost, but it can actually generate revenue if you produce using cleaner production practices. A couple of project funded also organize webinars or courses and facilitate the exchange of best practice and the use of eco-efficiency approaches, helping companies make better use of raw materials, their water, or their energy. One member from Nicaragua organized a symposium on cleaner production, energy efficiency, and renewable energy for the private sector, governments, to just create awareness on what exists and what are viable solutions. There's going to be another of those symposium in June, I think, in Nicaragua, organized, supported by LARED. And another project, the one we see on screen, is NBC with their project Compite Más from Chile. They provided direct support to more than 50 MSMEs in Peru to help them make decisions about sustainability and technology practices. So these are the people we work with and to enable them to scale and increase their reach. There is an important diversity of projects that form part of the network and that are receiving support from state. Either their main focus is on improving the environment, economic empowerment, or society enhancement. Their work touch more often than not on all those aspects in a positive way. Members of the network of LARED, they are deeply committed to social, economic, and environmental change. And these organizations, whether for-profit or not-for-profit, would not exist. That's really the point. They would not exist if it was not for the social, economic, and environmental impact they wanted to create. These are the people that form this network. So now if I look a little bit at Bastel, what we've been providing through this network is we were the results-based management and monitoring advisors of LARED. Our work was to work and support the 30-member organization, learn about their model and their strategy, and help them think about what it is they want to achieve, what their end goal is, and then clearly define what are the important components and activities to get there. We've asked them to map it all out, and we support them in this process to see if their assumptions they were making along the way from their activity to their impact made sense, if really the path they were taking was the best way, or if something could be added or changed to improve the chances of making an impact. We developed with them what we call a logic model, or if you want, some sort of theory of change. Then once this was done, we helped them define key indicators and methods that will help them measure and test whether or not in reality it worked as well as we had planned in paper. We encourage them to test their assumption, measure the results, and we accompany them to do so as they were implementing their solution. For the 4 who get $500,000 and the 8 that were awarded up to $80,000 US, reporting on their results became a requirement of their grant. We were then able to build in more support for them. Every quarter, we received from them a progress report, and that became a good opportunity to discuss their achievements with them. We also organized monitoring visits to each one of them at midpoint to take a step back with the project team and assess where they were at, discuss what they were doing well, but also what might be lagging behind. This was a good occasion to reflect and act on the monitoring feedback, decide on some key action to take, and assign responsibility to move forward. So you see on the screen monitoring and learning review template that we use with traffic light, dashboarding to help them realize, okay, this is what you've done, you're good, you're on track to achieve this indicator and this target you were set out to do. These ones will require more work. Let's assign a specific action, specific responsible, and a deadline to make sure you achieve what you need to achieve by the end of your project. But this was also for us a good way to collect success stories that we can then report back to our funder, partner, and external stakeholders. So during those visits, we take some photo, we discuss with the beneficiary, asking them some change they had experienced as part of the project, and we collected all that. So that was important as well in this sense to do this monitoring process. Then for the 4 winners, we conducted midterm and final evaluation. The midterm evaluation, the general purpose was to assess the progress in the delivery of their outputs and outcomes and identify achievements and lessons learned. The midterm evaluation really served as a formative evaluation, so it was really geared towards improving the project and provide ideas and recommendations to improve the effectiveness of future implementation before the project actually ended. And then at the end of the project, we did some final evaluation that addressed the same criteria as the MTE, so relevance, effectiveness, impact, efficiency, and sustainability. But we went further, and we were really trying to inform about what has been achieved with the funding provided. In addition to Bastel evaluation, EarthShift Global conducted sustainable return on investment studies for those same 4 projects. They made an initial and a final assessment, and this will be discussed during the next brown bag webinar in a month by Carolyn Taylor. So don't forget to put this on your agenda if you want to hear more also about this process. In addition, so we did the logic model, then the monitoring visits, the project, midterm, final evaluation. At the end, we also decided to evaluate the program as a whole. So la red, the network, the different areas, and the connection that were done between the members. It assessed the overall support provided by the implementing partners. We also look at the macro level results achieved in those different areas of support. It also served to demonstrate that the program was relevant and highly satisfactory overall, and most of the expectations set out during planning and designs were actually achieved. So as I mentioned, l'AREO was supposed to end in September 2017, but State Department granted an extension of the program, and we're now going into early 2020 with this program supporting more organizations. The evaluation was useful in terms of offering lessons for this new extension and on the way forward. For example, it was found that the amount of the grant for the 4 winners at $500,000 was substantial. Not every organization can manage a grant that size. So this amount disqualified smaller organizations. As a result, in the new Power to Grow challenge that is currently underway, the size of the grant was diminished, ranging from 40,000 to 80,000 USD, because we want to be working mostly with micro and small enterprise. The evaluation also shed light on the diverse makeup of l'ARED during the first phase. So this resulted in cases where members had little in common with each other, limiting their potential to collaborate. So through the current expansion, we decided to create a more focused network. La Red is still continuing to support and working with small and medium enterprises, but Power to Grow focuses on agriculture, agro-industry, and textile, whereas La Red, the first phase, covers a wealth of sectors such as education, technology, financing, etc. So that is pretty much, I think I made it in about those 35, 40 minutes that were granted to me. It might look simple when we see all those numbers I talk about in this presentation, but there was a lot of work done in the background to arrive to this and to make sure we were able to capture those results along the way. So Bastel, as the monitoring and evaluation firm contracted to support this program, we oversaw the monitoring and evaluation of some aspects of the program, but also build the capacity. That's often how we work. We build capacity of grantees to monitor and report on their progress, but most importantly on their results, and ask them and show them how to do consistent reporting from data collection and monitoring. So the work of Bastel was really crucial in terms of making data available to analyze and report on it to different audiences. This also enabled the partners and the project teams themselves to tell their story better. Especially this was important because they were mostly pilot projects. So it helped them to be able not just to say they were the best, but they actually had evidence that could back those claims. And I'll be glad to speak more about the results-based management and many aspects behind this program during the question and answer period. But just to conclude, if there is one thing to remember, I think, from this presentation, is that the ultimate goal of La Red is to support solutions to scale sustainably, to reach more and more people in Latin America and the Caribbean. This program succeeded in bringing to the forefront a broad range of promising ideas and provide ongoing support, increasing visibility, making funds available to further accelerate the development, testing, and deployment of top selectives and innovation. Gathering evidence of impacts to incentivize scaling was the key piece in bridging that gap between great ideas and wider impact. So yeah, that is it, I think, for the presentation, and I'll be glad to receive your question.
Thank you, Élodie. Very interesting and impressive, all in one. And we do have some questions here. So without further ado, I will get along with them, and please have people can still send questions to me. You mentioned that the MSMEs need supportive policy. How is La Red engaging to assist with that?
That's a good question. Well, that's a bit what I was mentioning. Our core work is to work with organizations that support MSMEs. They were NGOs for profit, but we have tried also to connect and create events that would attract through the visibility portion. So attract interest from governments or other stakeholders, foundation, organization working on those aspects to get involved and inspire the dialogue. Sometimes just talking about those issues, they help to bring them at the forefront and promote some changes. Some of the project also that was part of the scaling strategy for the four that received $500,000. It's hard to scale to a new context or location and be sustainable if you don't have a strong organization that back up. So some of the projects that were funded had as a core aspect of their work to create a network of stakeholders and include government as advisors to their project, or include Chamber of Commerce that could also bring some interesting members or beneficiaries. So that's how, by starting to, with one project, involve those stakeholders around it to support it, then they could start talking about it's important to support MSMEs. They're an important driver of change. It's important to support capacity building for sustainable production practices. So it's not directly through La Red, but a little bit indirectly through the different projects funded. We ask them, it might be, or we advise them, it might be a good idea for you to connect with government, and WEC has a great network in Latin America to do that, so they connected them with some people they know. State Department and the embassy, posts in different countries were also helpful in that way. And more generally, through the events, we always try to publicize and invite different type of actors, including government, so they could see that there is a very interesting innovation coming through this network, and that can generate new ideas and solutions and policy change eventually, but that takes a long time.
Thank you. I have someone who says, Élodie, this was great. We know that Bastel does M&E for a lot of different projects. How would you compare La Red with the other programs that you have evaluated?
Okay, that's a great question.
No pressure.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna speak for myself. This project was really hands-on for us. It was not just coming in, evaluating, and then leaving. We're kind of also embedded in the project team and providing some ongoing support and helping them learn through quick round of feedbacks. So I think that was really one of the things that made this project special, that they were really interested in learning, in lessons learned, in evaluation, in data, in monitoring, results-based monitoring, and they really gave us a lot of support to do all these things and to build from the beginning. More often than not, we ask, or clients ask evaluators to come in and evaluate, and there's simply not a lot of great data. There were no baseline conducted at the beginning, which makes comparing change and through the program very difficult. So by having a consultancy firm from the beginning working with the project, establishing the monitoring evaluation framework in accordance to the key metrics that State Department was interested in having, it really helped solidify, I think, the evaluation findings and the evaluation reports as a whole. Yeah, so I think that I would say there are many, many things that are innovative with this program, but this was definitely one.
Great, thank you. When you talk about going from 100 MSMEs impacted by La Red to 2,000, how are you defining impacted by La Red? What metrics did you use for that?
Okay, these are if there are people connected from state government organization or state-funded organization. There are USAID and State Department have developed some standard foreign assistance indicators, so that we call F indicators. So that is one of the F indicators. When we say impacted, if they receive direct support, the support can be very wide-ranging. It can be they receive training in different aspects. It's mostly, I would say in this project, it was mostly training. I'm trying to see what other type of support, but it's really strengthening their business, helping train their staff, helping create more inclusive work environment. So that's what I mentioned. It's really the direct beneficiary that these projects work with. So the first year, the 4 projects were awarded in late 2014. After a year, because they had to scale to another location, it took a little bit of time. But still, after a year, they were able to move from their country, create a network, a partnership, find interested MSMEs to work with them as direct beneficiary of their project. And those 4 projects had started working with 100 MSMEs, providing them their product or services wherever the case may be. And then a year later, well, of course, we awarded 8 new projects, but those 4 were also able to scale their impact greatly. And that's how we saw that big gap from starting with 100 and then working with more than 2,000. And also because of the connections that were created. Some other project wanted to get involved, so it really created that ripple effect.
Wow, yeah, impressive. Can you comment on whether and to what extent using those metrics have influenced outcomes for the participating beneficiaries?
Yeah, okay. It was really interesting because when we set up the M&E framework for each project, we really look at the results these projects would have in the new country, and more specifically for their beneficiary. We had not necessarily entirely realized that at that time the scaling required the grantees to adapt and to learn very quickly. So one of the greatest area of impact for the organization, the grantees, they told us it was in regard to learning. I think I had a slide on that with the program evaluation. It said the learning was very important for them, and it helped them adapt. For example, during the MTE, we made a couple of recommendations. We used literature for change management, for example, and we shared that to solidify. And a lot of the project actually implemented some actions to help them influence and achieve better outcome. For example, during the MTE, we made some we made some survey, and we asked beneficiary what they liked, what they did not like, what they needed for this project to become more sustainable in the future. And in one project, I remember a lot of people were saying, you know, they're trying to make us work with this new technology, a cell phone or an online web-based platform, and it sounds great, but we're not, like, there's a little bit of resistance in some company to using it, or we're not entirely sure how all the functionality works. Well, we reported that back on the evaluation report that beneficiary, there was a problem probably with sustainability because they didn't feel ownership of the new tools or the new knowledge they were transferred. And a lot of the project decided they would include more trainings in the subsequent phase, and they didn't necessarily have the fund to go back and implement those trainings, but they did webinars, so at a distance, to make sure that they could transfer the capacity and these projects could live and remain even after the grant ended. So that's one of the example of really taking the results, the findings, the recommendation from an evaluation, and taking concrete action, and it helped the project continue. All 4 projects right now are actually still in somewhere and another being implemented, even though the funding ended in 2017. Yeah.
So I guess this is tagging on to that a little. You mentioned during the presentation having conducted the project evaluations. What did you find were the main challenges the project teams faced during their scaling process?
Well, definitely, yeah. That's gathering enough local buy-in and funding to maintain their presence after the pilot phase. It is relative, like it is normal, but it will take several years and it really requires long-term engagement. But scaling into a new country was definitely difficult because they had no prior knowledge often of this country. They didn't know, and that was interesting, something we found. We were thinking it's really ingrown innovation, so those people know Latin America, but from Mexico to Colombia, there's a world. There are cultural differences. There are ways the government laws are different. So what really helped in this network is having those connections with other members that could support. And right now, there is one example of a project that is continuing because the organization from Mexico trained a member of the network in their methodology, and now this member is implementing and supporting the growing of the solution, the scaling of the solution in Panama because of that transfer of knowledge and that support they received through La Red. But definitely the sustainability of the results and not just getting there, they had the funding to get there, but remain and develop a new business, a new location for their product or services was one of the great challenges.
Mm-hmm. And then tagging on to that, you mentioned that 12 partnerships were formed throughout through the signed agreements as a result of the events. And could you provide a few more examples of what those partnerships entailed?
Right now, so I talk about Incubatec UFRO and Cámara de Comercio together being able to build that incubation program for women entrepreneurs in Colombia, and also generating interest from bank and organization in Dominican Republic. So they also create that same program over there as well. There is another one, Wakami, that I can think is that fashion accessories. They connect rural women that are often away from markets, and in rural area, it's often the men who will go and do the agriculture, and the woman will stay at home and not necessarily have a lot to say in the family or in matters of economic matters, because they don't have a direct revenue. Well, Wakami, what they do is they go and train and provide support to these women in different remote areas to use their traditional knowledge and connect them to market through the internet, through Amazon, for example, and sell their products through the internet. They really provide a lot of marketing and this capability to export. And through this network, they sign a collaboration agreement with another member organization from Peru. And they're going to start using the knowledge of some women for the textile in Peru and insert them in their global value chain. So it's really the member organization of La Red from Peru that, again, get a transfer of capability, of expertise from another member and start implementing that same model that has proved successful in another country, in their own country. So yeah, that's another of the example. I think there's a new line supposed to be coming up this summer with Peruvian products for Wakami.
Nice. So here's a fun one. What were some of the most surprising results in these projects?
There were a lot of great results, but what I think I will remember the most is really the learning that came from these organizations. They really all adapted. They're innovators, they're great thinkers, but having to scale to another country, having to partner with another organization, they really had to take a step back and think, okay, what are my own strengths and what are my limitations? And this was very valuable for them to continue their expansion. If I put that in a very concrete example, Vista Volcanes from Guatemala, they have greenhouses, so it helps produce organically or in different areas because it's warmer. And they developed this great project, which greenhouses to small farmers to help them produce and sell create better product and sell them at a higher rate. They always done that in Guatemala, works well. And now we ask them, okay, well, go see if it works, for example, in El Salvador. It seems like a good idea. You're having great results. And they realized that their greenhouse was really heavy. So if they wanted to expand and start moving, they had to change a little bit the material because the cost of transporting this material from one country to another was just too much. So they adapted their own solution. So really they went through these cycles of learning, and now they are better able to expand and reach more people, which was really one of the key aspects we wanted through this project, to help them scale. So it was a first experience, a pilot that came with a grant. So it diminished a little bit for them some of the risk associated, and they were able to pilot, test, learn, and now they're better equipped to continue the scaling process a little bit more on their own and with the new connection they create in different parts of the world. So that was quite surprising. I think we selected those projects because we thought they were the top one, the best one. Yeah, they still had some things to improve, and they did, and now they're in a better position to continue their scaling process in the future.
Thank you. So this might be a little challenging to say in the few minutes, but can you say something about how you develop the metrics?
Yeah, okay. So as I mentioned, what we did was we organized in-person workshop. I think there were two, one in Mexico at the very beginning, another one in Colombia, where we invited members of La Red to sit with us for a full 1 or 2 day RBM training to teach them what are different type of results. So concrete products or services, immediate results, medium, long-term results, and then think about what is an indicator, how do you set up targets. So really the basis of results-based management. We also did that through webinars to reach as many organizations as we could from the network. So if they could not come to one of the in-person events, I think we provided like 4 or 5 webinars. And after that, we asked them, okay, you have this new knowledge of how results-based management work from your activity and what it is you want to achieve. Now, adapt it to your own project. So they start drafting logic models. They send it to us. We had a lot of Skype exchange, email exchange, where we told them, okay, do you really think this is what you want to do? And then we help them find indicators. What we try as much as possible is look at what type of indicators they were already gathering as an organization and use those as much as possible. However, in many organizations, they are mostly process-oriented indicators. So we help them through best practice, our knowledge as a firm of development and RBM and impact metrics. We help them, we suggested some indicators. Do you think this would be possible? And not only the metrics, but okay, you have this indicator, what it takes after. We help them design tools that will help them capture those results. So whether it be a survey, a checklist, it could be an Excel database, so they could start tracking consistently. Each organization, we showed them how to do a performance measurement framework, so a PMF, and each 6 months or quarter, we ask them, send us your PMF and we'll revise it, and your report, and we'll give you guidance on how to make it better. And some organizations, even though they didn't receive any funds from La Red, did share with us their progress, and like this they learned how to adapt their initiative. And they told us it was really a great thing to just sit back and stop looking only at the activity, because we get so lost in the details sometimes, that look a bit higher. Is this what we're doing really having the impact we're wanting? If not, how can we improve? So that was really that process of helping them set indicators, but the question was really, how do we help them set indicators? We look first at what State Department was wanting, so those foreign assistant indicators. What was the strategy of State Department? They wanted to increase export, so definitely we set up some metrics based on that specific objective. So the revenues, the new markets, the number of private or public partnership created, so these kind of things. But we also look at the organization, what it is that you are interested in. Wakami, for example, has a very big part of their project that they want to increase social, and that the revenue, the increased revenue their companies are making, that they go to help children get a better education, or get children in school, or get better health services, nutrition services. So we start looking at what it is are your objective, what are you interested in, and then how can we best track whether or not you're having an impact on those. So track how many children were in school at the beginning, or make a comparison group, how many children are in school from your beneficiary compared to the other population, a similar population. So these are all kind of things that we help the project do.
Well, it's just such fascinating work, and I thank you so much for sharing with us today. There's so much more to be said, and people have your email and are happy to respond to you should they have more questions, and keep up the good work.
Thank you so much, Holly, and thank you to EarthShift for having those webinars. Great opportunity.
I just want to also encourage everybody to tune in next month when we will have EarthShift Global's Caroline Taylor talk about one of the people here, one of the groups here, the Vista Volcanis, and their Capilla Maya program, and that will be on May 17th at the same time at 1 p.m. And I thank you all and enjoy the rest of your day.